My name is Victor. I am the occult technician, and this is Mind War. Mind War is sponsored by Victory Work Apparel. Use promo code Mind War. Join the Mind War today. Enlist at patreon.com/mindwar. Now, back to the show. Welcome back to Mind War, folks. I appreciate you being here. We have a lot to cover today, so let's get started, folks. We're going to pick up where we left off in the book Magic, History, Theory, Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl. We were on page 76 towards the bottom paragraph, and it says this. Since the mere hallucinatory basis is only in the rarest cases enough to achieve the attended compression of the God perception, another psychic process is brought into it, which then safely guarantees the embodiment of the God. This is a fun paragraph, folks. This is the process which is psychiatrically called the process of illusion. Here, an autogenic perception is not freely transferred into space, but the psyche grasps a perceived object of the empirical environment and projects the imaginative perception on it. Much like with the symbol you see in front of me, much like with the sigil you see behind me, they are loaded with mana, they are loaded with information, they are loaded with magical energy, and they contain all of that information within their shape because we have put it into it. The same way that the cross represents Christianity to us, the same way that the American flag represents all of what it means to be an American, right? These symbols contain information. This perception connects itself closely with the pertaining object, so that this object is conceived as the realization of the perception. The process of illusion manifests itself in an imaginative transmutation of the meaning value of the sense or the metaphysical substance of an empirical object, but its physical substance remains completely unchanged. This process is therefore called transubstantiation. In the hierarchical language, while only reflecting on the metaphysical substance, on the imaginative meaning value of the object. In this manner, the imaginatively loaded object is called an idol, a fetish, or psychologically speaking, an imago spurious. That is to say, an imaginative bastard creation. That paragraph just taught us how to create an idol. Now, all of you Judeo-Christian Islamic paradigm fairy tale following folks, you know that idol worship is one of the deadliest sins out there. It's one of the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not worship idols. Yet we were just taught how to create an idol. Just like we talked about with these symbols. Just like we talked about with the creatures, the characters that we create. We call them demons as a way to represent human emotion, human characteristics. The same way which Logos like the one you see in front of me, symbols like the one you see there, or sigils like the ones you see behind me, they are loaded with information through transubstantiation, pushing our imagination into the item, into the object, giving meaning to the object beyond just its, if it's a demon character, just beyond its, ooh, gross, it's scary, it's a monster, look at it, right? Moving beyond that, what does all of it mean? What does this character mean? What is his purpose, right? The same thing with logos and sigils. What are their purpose? What information do they contain? And how do we get that information into it? And again, it's through transubstantiation. You can create your own idol to worship today. Try it. Try breaking one of the 10 commandments. Not the bad ones. Don't go kill people and all that other shit. We're not doing that. But the idol worship, that was one that always got me. Right? Because that's a thought crime that they're saying. It's one thing to, commit murder and adultery. Those are physical crimes. But not worshiping idols, that's a thought crime. And that's where you really get into fucking trouble with me, man. You want to start criminalizing my thoughts? Fuck you. Let's go on here. The realization of God perception rests upon an utterly individual act. The creation of the empirical environment is indeed also such a pure individual act. But nevertheless, a great number of various individuals can participate in one and the same empirical environment. Practically speaking, since the process of observation by which the empirical environment is emerging is not touching the actual deep structure of the individuality. This is different with regards to God perception. It originates in the deepest center of the self and is therefore to a high degree exclusively individual, so that it does not have meaning for other individuals. Our God perception. One of the things that the Judeo-Christian Islamic followers don't quite understand is that we all perceive their God differently. They may look at their God as this all-powerful being that they love and want to worship and follow all of his ridiculous rules and all of his contradictions and all of those things. We don't see it that way. We look at their God as a monster. We look at their God as the Old Testament type of God who is filled with hate and revenge and wants to destroy all of their enemies. What the fuck is going on? What is that type of teaching? It's awful. Well, Victor, isn't that what the New Testament is about? Jesus came and taught us about love and this, that, and the other. Cool, man. If there really was a guy named Jesus who taught about those things, cool. He was a cool guy. He had God in him, the Father in him, just like all the rest of us do. He is no different than anyone else. None of us. We are all equally the same as Jesus. We all have the same ability to do all of the things that he did. Well, most of us do. But it's about that perception. We perceive your God differently than you do. It's why we are offended by him. It's why we are offended by your faith and your belief in this fairy tale. It offends us. It sickens us because it plays such a huge role in reality. Because if all of your fellow citizens are brainwashed into this nonsense, it affects your daily life. It's why we stand up against it. It's not because we want to be punk rock and go against the religious establishment. No, we look around at our fellow citizens and say, what the fuck is wrong with all of you? You see, Adam Green over at No More News, he's doing these man on the street interviews now with what just seem to be like normal people. People who are probably well educated, live good lives. They're very logical in most of their life, but then you start asking them about religion and it's like, oh yeah, the fairy tale man is going to come down from the sky on a fiery horse and he's going to kill all the bad guys. And we're all going to be saved and live in a perfect world. What? What the fuck are you talking about? That's never going to happen. There is no supernatural god ghost zombie man who's going to come down with an army of angels that have wings to defeat the Antichrist. None of that is going to happen. And in future series, we're going to talk about what's really going to happen with this end times prophecy. This next part of the paragraph I highlighted, it says this: we call perceptions which originate in these deep structures demonic perceptions, and we call the environment which is created by them demonic environment or world of demons. I like that. World of demons. Demons are therefore not empirical essentialities. We are not able to simply become aware of them with observation, but they are to a high degree of purely imaginative origin and emerge from cosmic energies which are compressed in the body. They are nonetheless real in the proper phenomenal sense, just like empirical objects. Again, your emotional feeling of anger, sadness, happiness, contentment, whatever it may be, is a real feeling. You feel those energies within your body. Those feelings are made up of chemicals that are flowing through your body as a result of things happening in the real world, in reality, in your physical world. You hug someone you love, and all sorts of warm, loving, beautiful chemicals flow through your body. You see a video online of a horrific crime that you know could have been prevented with just a small amount of order, and now you get angry. You feel those anger chemicals swelling up in you, and hatred begins to build up within you. These are real, concrete emotions that we feel within us. It's not just some external perceived phenomena. There's concreteness to our emotions. And we describe those emotions and those feelings as demonic. And again, I'm telling you, man, after the events that we talked about in the last episode, the news is wild. Just the way they talk about the demons, it's demonic, and it's... They talk about it as if demons are real physical material monsters that are going to come out of your closet or from beneath your bed and possess you. It's crazy. It's crazy the way that, again, logical, educated people who we, are making a shit ton of money selling the news to you, the way that they talk is ridiculous. It's just wild to listen to them. No wonder they're also hated. They deserve to be hated. Let's go on here. That nevertheless, certain demonic perceptions often have meaning for large groups of individuals can be ascribed to the fact that every kind of perception is infectious. Fuck. If that is not our true reality right now, I don't know what to tell you, man. Especially if a similar structure is present in the deep structures of the pertaining individuals. Okay, let's read that again. Certain demonic perceptions often have meaning for large groups of individuals. Okay. Large groups of individuals see certain things as demonic. That's America today. That's the West today. That's probably the whole world, right? All of your different groups see different things as demonic, different actions, different, ways of living as demonic. What is normal to one culture is demonic to another culture. It's just insane the way that we talk and demonize, right, other groups of people. And it says that these demonic perceptions are infectious. If we didn't see that in 2020 with the COVID lockdowns and the COVID craziness, the infectious of demonic lies. Okay, so when it comes to the COVID scenario, where were the demons in that? In my opinion, one of the easiest ones to see was the demon of greed. He was right there. These pharmaceutical companies had to push this drug out because they were making so much money. The healthcare system was making so much government money off of every patient. Every patient who passed away, they were making money from. The demon of greed was there for all to see, and everyone became infected by it. Even if you weren't someone who was reaping the benefits of the greed, which most of us were not. In fact, we were the victims of their greed, because those of you like myself who went and took the fucking shot, we are paying for it now. My health in many ways has deteriorated drastically in the last 5 years. Whether it was the COVID shots or the medicine that I take to try to help with my digestive issues, or whether it's just getting fucking old because I lived a crazy life of drinking too much, eating unhealthy foods, stress, working long hours, all of the damage that I did to myself in my 20s, 30s, even in my teens, it caught up to me very quickly in the last 5 years. And I've changed dramatically because of that. That change has been good for me. I love who I am now, even with all the broken parts, even with all the pain and suffering that I live through sometimes on a daily basis, right? I still appreciate who I've become because now internally, I am more centered. My physical body may be in chaos, but the soul is centered, especially after going through the Gateway Experience tapes, man. Once you have that out-of-body experience, when it's combined with the ego melting use of psilocybin, there isn't so much fear of what comes next. There really isn't. It reminds me of when Mother Mind War was in the emergency room the night that we learned she had her cancer diagnosis. Again, she was, I think, just 70 years old, right? She lived a good life, but, her own mother is in her 90s. Many of her family members lived past 70, right? So it was cut off short in a way. But I remember Mother Mind War said, listen, I'm ready. And I go, what? What are you talking about? I mean, that's like literally the first thing she said to me when I walked into the emergency room that night. I just thought she had bronchitis or something, maybe pneumonia, maybe COVID. Who fucking knows, right? I walk in there and she says, listen, I'm ready to die. I've had a good life, but I'm exhausted and I'm ready to go. Okay, Ma. All right. What are we talking about? And then we had to learn of the diagnosis and the details and the realities of what changes were about to come to our life, right? Sometimes it's not easy to understand those things. Sometimes it's not easy to go through those changes. Sometimes it's not easy to deal with the changes in your perception. but ultimately you have to. Change is fundamental to being a human being. You cannot stop it. Change happens from the day you are born till the day you die. You never stop changing. Literally just growing up and then growing old. Those are changes that you cannot stop. You might live in the same house, eat the same meal, have the same job, all that stuff, but changes still are going to happen. And it's just about how you perceive them. That's how you deal with your life, right? Let's see. It would be senseless to set the demonic perceptions as fictional against the empirical observations, since ultimately the empirical world is also fictional. It rests on an imaginative basic synthesis. That is to say, the empirical reality is in the root of demonic, or which is the same magical nature. So again, so much of our empirical world has these etheric structures put over them. Knowledge and the laws and, just information. A lot of these things are very esoteric. They're not real. They're not concrete. They're just thought structures that we allow to permeate ourselves. And then we follow the rules. The rules in this town are X, Y, and Z. The rules in the next town are A, B, and C. You have to follow whatever those rules are, and they're fake. They're not real. Until you break one of the rules and someone is beating you over the head with a nightstick. This next paragraph, I highlighted the first sentence here, and it says, all magic is demonism, since both notions signify in the same way the principle of the imagination. Demonism, again, harnessing those human emotions that we all deal with, communing with our own human characteristics, understanding what they are and how to redirect them into positive, healthy structures. Instead of answering your depression with drugs, alcohol, self-harm, pornography, whatever, video games, staring at the television, flipping through your phone, whatever those things are that you do in order to deal with your depression normally, that's one side of the demonic pendulum. That's the side that is negative, where we end up destroying ourselves. Or we take a conscious look at why we are depressed. We look at our aristos, the current situation that we're in. We cannot change the situation at this moment, but what is the situation? An honest look at it. And then we say, how can we create the best scenario in our given situation? How do we make the best out of this situation? Because then once you start to make small incremental changes to your scenario, then your situation changes, and then ultimately you have a whole new aristos in life. That nonetheless magical effects spring from certain people, without us being able to demonstrate a conscious world of perception at them, has nothing to do with it, since there also exist unconscious magical demonic effects, as can be determined with regards to stones, plants, etc. But the consciously working magician will always feel himself surrounded by a more or less clearly structured demonic world. Again, the perception, these magical demonic effects, we demonstrate a conscious world of perception. One of the things that you're going to find once you become a magician And you will know when you've become a magician. In future episodes, I'm going to share with you the moment that I knew that I had become a magician. Once you do that, you're going to start noticing the illusions that are around you. And you're going to notice that most men live in their illusions. They never break free from them. And it's tough. It's because it's a domino effect. Once one illusion breaks, once there's just a small crack in the foundation of some illusion, some lie that meant so much to you in your life, it created your ego. It created the character that you show to everyone else. I'm a Christian. I'm a conservative. I'm an atheist. I'm a liberal. I'm a Republican, Democrat. I like this football team. I like that football team. I drink this kind of beer or that kind of soda or whatever the fuck it is that you place upon yourself and say, this is who I am because I'm part of this group or whatever. Once you become a magician, you perceive the world differently and you see everyone trapped in these different illusions. And it is very difficult. It's very, when it first starts to happen, you feel very alone. Because you realize, holy shit, man, is everybody asleep? Is everybody living these lies? It's wild. It can be very difficult to deal with. But over time, you're going to start to see, little flickers of light here. A little candle gets lit over here in the darkness. A little candle gets lit over there in the darkness. And you say, wait a minute. There's somebody else who believes the same way that I do. Oh, look, over there. There's another person who has seen through the illusions. And it starts again to give you hope. I know we can't rely on hope. But we harness it where we can if we need to. If holding on to hope just for another few days is what you need to continue on with your work, then maybe hope is what gets you through it. But eventually that hope needs to turn into some type of concrete information, action, right? Something material. So this next paragraph, again, the book Magic, History, Theory, Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl. Supposedly this book was one of the most read books in Adolf Hitler's library. There was a historian who went through Hitler's library. He found his copy of the book Magic, History, Theory, Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl. Hitler's copy of this book was very tattered, worn through, had all sorts of highlighted sections. And the following few paragraphs were highlighted by Adolf Hitler. Let's see what he found to be so important. Ooh, I see one thing already. Let's go here. It says, every demonic magical world is centered towards the great individuals, from whom basic creative conceptions spring. Every magician is surrounded by a force field of paracosmic energies, and as already indicated, he acts to the highest degree of ectropically upon the cosmic dynamic. The individuals which are affected by his form, the individuals which are infected by him form a community, or his people, also known as the Volk, V-O-L-K, aka the Folk, F-O-L-K, aka all of you, mind warriors, citizen samurais, guerrilla gurus, and warrior monks here in the Mind War podcast. You are the Volk. You are the people who are being infected by the information that I am sharing with all of you as a magician. And these people create a complex of life of a certain imaginative framework, which is called culture. That's right. I promised you. We are going to create a new culture by what we are learning here. We're going to remove old cultural wet blankets, and we are going to free ourselves from that, and we are going to build up a culture of freedom, a culture that allows people to move out of the handful of fake paradigms that are available to them. The world needs, options. And like I've warned all of you before, we are moving from a world of infinite options to a world of only one monotheistic religion. That's where we're going. There's going to only be one very soon. It seems like we're down to maybe a half dozen religions you can believe in right now, and they're stripping those away every day. Along with the one world religion, we're going to have a one world government, a single world authority. We're going to have a one world military. It's the opposite of where we need to go, because it's going to cause damage and destruction, not of the structures and the infrastructures and the organizations, corporations, and institutions. They're going to thrive in this one world situation. It's the individual that's going to be destroyed. And that's going to be tough. We've seen it depicted in art for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, about what their plan is. To destroy the individual, to get everyone to really just become one giant conglomerate of non-thinking, non-feeling drones. And we need to understand that that's the path we're on today, but also realize we don't have to continue on this path. We can go a different way. Real quick, one more second. Let's see. Every demonic magical world is centered towards the great individuals. Every magician is surrounded by a force field. Okay, I want to say this real quick. Yesterday, while I was cleaning the outside of the house, I think I told you in the last episode, I was working on cleaning the siding over at the WAR Manor. As I was doing so, I went and I was walking through. We have some decorative plants there, and I was about to walk through the plants to get closer to the house so I could clean it. And I swear to God, I hit a force field, and I stopped dead in my fucking tracks. My body couldn't move. It felt paralyzed. My feet felt like they were magnetically attached to the earth, and I couldn't move. And it was like a round force field. I felt like I was about to fall onto a yoga ball or something, but there was nothing there. And I looked down, and there was a toad. The cutest little darn toad you've ever seen. And I almost fucking stepped on him. But this wonderful little creature, this little creation of our cosmos, he had a magical force field around him. And we've heard that from Dr. Ernst Schertl, that we are going to find magic in everything around us. Rocks, trees, even the toads. Just a fun little story. That's all. It was very interesting. It was very cute. Sweet little guy. He really helped kind of get me through all the hard work that I had to do that day. It was just a fun little occurrence there. So let's go on here. It says, from that moment on, when these imaginative magical forces of coercion run dry, the result is a deteriorating Volk, or people, and with them, their culture. Okay, so I think we see that over and over and over again. The waves of culture. I believe that we are at the early stages of a very beautiful upward turning of culture. As we are hearing from President Trump and so many others, a golden era that we are moving into. Will it result in the, golden era that we all hope? Maybe, maybe not. But I believe that we are at the very beginning of a massive cultural change. It's why I come down here and do this work. It's why I come down here and put myself in a position to be ridiculed and hated and maligned and all of the things that people can come against me with for the things I'm trying to teach. Because we need to create a new culture. And that's what we're talking about here with this book. That's what we're doing here in the Mind War podcast. We're trying to free people from the cultural wet blanket that has been placed upon all of us. And create something new. Something where true freedom of thought is welcomed. Felix Orbach expressed this as the following. The cosmos takes direct interest only in strong and ectropic individuals. Consequently, it follows that the cosmos takes no substantial interest in the number, in as high as possible, number of individuals. This particular ectropic influence never springs from the masses, but always only from the few, who, by increasing the selective foresight of the highest degree, are ahead of their time. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here and give myself a gold star, folks, but I am definitely ahead of my time. And so are you. All the mind warriors, citizen samurais, guerrilla gurus, and warrior monks out there right now who are working on this massive cultural change that we are at the beginning of. You feel alone. You feel like that there is just too much work to be done. But you can't think that way. You have to keep going. We've talked about it before. There is no dunking in the water conversion. You cannot just walk into a church, get dunked underwater, and say you are converted into a new person, into a new thought process. And all this. No, it doesn't work that way. That's a lie. That's going to lead you right back to your old life. What you need is small, incremental changes. Growth, it happens. This is what this fucking project is about right now. That's why I'm going through this series on magic here in the Mind War. That's why we are painstakingly and so embarrassingly going back through my old Instagram posts where you can see me at my rawest, at just trying desperately to figure things out. Figure out art. Figure out lighting and sound systems and how to record the podcast and all the changes that have come to it over just the few seasons that I've been doing this. That's just the outside. Not only is it the physical world that we have to make these small incremental changes with to see the progress, because through my art and through the podcast, you're seeing the progression, you're seeing the growth. It's also mirrored internally with me, folks, and it will be with you as well as you make those small incremental changes, which eventually will lead to your conversion. But it's not a small dunk in the water, going to some weekend seminar thing. It doesn't work that way. And like Felix Orbach here says, it says that the cosmos, again, the cosmic dynamic force, the absolute, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, he's not interested in the masses who are living in the illusion. He can't work with you if you are still hypnotized by the lies of man. If you allow yourself to be hypnotized by man and his lies, it completely blocks you off of any cosmic dynamic force. It's why when you go to church and you read from the Bible and you try to believe, I tried to fucking believe so hard, folks. I joined multiple denominations. I almost joined a fucking Judeo-Christian cult called the 12 Tribes with my best friend Joey, aka Deog. I almost abandoned my family to go join a fucking cult because I thought I had to believe in the Bible. I thought I had to believe in Christianity. It was a lie. I was lying to myself the same way they lie to you. It wasn't until I moved past that and realized I don't have to believe in these things. It's a lie. It never felt right. Only then at my lowest, when I said, what do I do now? What do I do? Who do I believe? Who should I follow? What's the next organization, corporation, or institution that I should follow? And again, I tried to follow them all, whether it was the educational institutions, whether it was the military organizations, whether it was the corporations that I worked for, whether it was the religious institutions I tried to believe in. They were all a lie in their own way. And it wasn't until I was at my deepest, most desperate, and I called out and I said, what do I do? And the answer was, Victor, do whatever feels right to you. Follow the path. Pick up your candle and walk into the darkness. Don't be afraid. The path will appear with every step that you take, and that's what happened. That's what led me to books like Magic, History, Theory, Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl, supposedly one of Adolf Hitler's favorite books. Again, do you think it was my plan to come out here and talk about fucking Nazi magic in 2025? Are you out of your fucking mind? Do you think it was my plan, like I talked about in the last episode, that during one of the most far left, if far left is even an extreme enough title to put on the Biden administration, do you think it was my plan to talk about almost being stabbed to death by some black dude at the library? No, because I know that coming out and talking about that is going to put me in the hot seat. Just like the work that we're doing now. The internet could destroy me for what I'm doing right now. Thankfully, we're still pretty under the radar here, folks, right? I've made a few splashes a few times. I'm not really doing that much anymore. My Instagram page is I think the highest I got was 17,000 views because of my massive trolling campaign. But I've set most of that aside. My numbers have dwindled quite a bit, which is fine. I'm trying to just stay under the radar until we get this art project done. And once it's complete, then we can promote it, right? But again, once I removed that religious wet blanket, once I found myself outside of the organizations, corporations, and institutions, and at my deepest, lowest point. That was when the cosmic dynamic force said, hey man, the answer's out there. You know it's out there. Go find it. And that's exactly what I did. Again, through books like Mind War. Through the Gateway Experience tapes. Right? Through magic. We found some answers that just were not out there. Not in any form like we found them here in the Mind War podcast. Let's go on. This paragraph was highlighted by Adolf Hitler. It says, since the magical world always represents something concretely directional and individually centered, it is clear that every kind of tendency of abstraction or universalism is destructive to it. tendencies of abstraction and universalism are symptoms of the old age of culture. And since the aging is starting relatively early from a psychologic, energetic point of view, the already mentioned fact is explained that historically, we only know magical worlds heading south. That is to say that the history of magic essentially appears to us as a history of decline. If that doesn't fucking break your heart, that we, for the last 2,000 years of dark ages, maybe more, we have been living in a world of decline. I think we can all agree on that, even with the amazing advancements that we've had in the last 100 years or so. Ultimately, it's those amazing advancements that we've made in just those last 100 years that are allowing us to move into this new golden era, this new world where we will no longer be in decline. Okay, again, as a magician, when you view the world for its reality, you look past the illusion. It's the same way, the best way to explain this is when you go to Disneyland or you go to Disney World, right? If you are a Disney retard, you go there and you believe the magic and go, oh, wow, everything's so magical here. It's so fucking amazing. If you are engineered, or if you have a mind like mine that is more engineered focused, logical focused, you walk into Disney World and you go, how did they get that robot to work? I wonder what kind of electricity and information technology they're using. What kind of pneumatic pumps are they using? Oh, look at the where they're selling food over here. I wonder what point of sale systems that they're using. Oh, look at the security cameras up there. I wonder how many cameras are actually in this building. You don't see any of the magic anymore. You see the reality. You see past the illusion and you realize how much fucking work it actually takes to create the magical kingdom. The magician is the man who sees reality for what it truly is and doesn't live in the illusion. But the problem is we live with a world of fucking morons who not only live in the illusion, but then they try to say that the illusion is real. And any type of reality, they try to make it this abstract thing because they don't understand it. Excuse me. And then they try to universalize everything, as if it can all be just fit into one little category. And well, we can do it this way because this is how we feel it should be done. Fuck you, man. You have no idea what it takes to create this magical kingdom that you live in. And that fucking boils my fucking blood right now, man. When you see all of the people in this country and in the West who are benefiting from the hard work of our ancestors and they take it for granted and then they spit on us, they shit on us, they fucking kill us. Fuck you, man. You don't deserve any of this. You deserve to be weeded out of our garden. You abstract universalists. Fuck you. And those tendencies of abstraction and universalism, again, that is the world we live in right now. A bunch of fucking retards who push abstraction and universalism, but those are the symptoms of the old culture. And that old culture is dying all around us. Celebrate its death. It was a control structure built to destroy us as individuals. But no more. We are no longer living in a history of decline. This fact was also formulated by Felix Orbach, theoretically, physically. And he says this: the ectropic effecting ability sets in at the beginning, increases up to a maximum, then soon afterward sinks and goes away. In most cases, the beginning takes place right away with a finite value. The ascent to the maximum is generally very steep, so therefore the aging sets in very early. There are even cases where the optimum almost coincides with the beginning. Often when change comes to our life, it comes quickly and simply, just like we talked about in the last episode with Robert, the Minnesota trans shooter, who we know that we could have helped. The Mind Warriors, Citizen Samurais, Guerrilla Gurus, and Warrior Monks of the Mind War podcast, you know that if Robert would have been brought into the work that we do, that within 90 days we could have turned him around. And it would have started with one simple act. A small act that would have had a massive change, just like the author was saying here. And that would be shaving his head. His ridiculous pink curly hair. Simply within 5 minutes, we could have completely changed the way that Robert looked at himself. And that would have been the beginning of something great. It would have been the beginning of stopping a tragedy. Well, that was our readings and work from the book Magic History Theory Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl for today. That was today's readings. When we get back, we're going to continue on with my magical journey over on Instagram at The Occult Technician in just a moment. All right, folks, welcome back. We're going to pick up where we left off on my magical journey over on Instagram at The Occult Technician. You're going to scroll all the way down to a post from May 6th, 2023. This is a full moon tarot card pull. This was just a typical night. I pulled the Seven of Cups. We read through there the definition of what the Seven of Cups means. On the fourth image there, we kind of see my setup prior to going into the ritual. But most importantly, and why today we need to really take a minute here, is the fifth picture from that night's post. And what you see is my left hand, and you see the tattoo that I gave myself on the palm of my left hand of the sigil that is behind me. So this was a very important practice that I needed to do. And it came from some real self-realization, some difficult truths. So throughout the Mind War podcast, I talk about how when we deal with our emotions, we often can turn to very unhealthy ways of dealing with them. Drugs, alcohol, pornography, bad food, video games, scrolling through the phone. And you often hear me talking about self-harm, like cutting. I never cut myself, but I understand why people do it. When you cut yourself, your body releases all sorts of chemicals that are going to help relieve the pain. So if you are emotionally in a bad and sad place, and then you cut yourself and you get this wave of kind of pain relieving chemicals that your body naturally produces, it becomes like a drug. It becomes a way for you to cope with your emotional issues. Now again, like I said, I never cut myself. So I never thought of myself as being someone who did self-harm. I thought, well, that's not me. Other people do that. Weak-minded individuals cut themselves, do self-harm. It was a very difficult realization when I looked back at my life and understood, oh, you are someone who has done a lot of self-harm. But I didn't do it to myself. I paid someone else to do it for me in the form of tattooing. I got my first tattoo, I think, when I was 18. Shortly after, I left for the United States Marine Corps. Between the ages of, I would say, 18 and 21, I got the majority of my tattoos. Both arms are pretty much sleeved, and I have a very large tattoo on my back. It takes up almost my full back. Now, during that time, those early years in the Marine Corps, I was very, very lonely, again, full of anger. I kind of left home in resentment. We'll talk about where that resentment stemmed from in future episodes of the podcast. But I left a very angry person. And when I got to the Marine Corps, I found myself going, oh, I have no outlet, right? Because before that, I was a stoner. Liked to smoke a lot of weed every day. Took mushrooms a few times, took LSD a few times. I never really drank as a kid. I drank a few times. It always ended up in me just barfing and making a fool out of myself, so I didn't like that. But once I was a Marine, I realized, okay, I have no outlet for this emotional sadness. But man, I always felt so much better after I got a tattoo. The physical pain wasn't so bad, maybe a 5 out of 10, right, for the worst parts of the tattooing. But it was always this feeling of just euphoria afterwards, this exhaustion, almost post-orgasmic exhaustion when you're done getting a tattoo and you're just like, oh, fuck yeah, that felt good. I feel better. I can make it a few more weeks until I need to get the next tattoo. And that was my realization, that for all those years, I actually was doing self-harm. I just was paying someone else to do it. Now, in the past, I talked to you about on the night of the new moon when I am pulling a new demon card from the Goetia Tarot card deck, that I have that piece of paper with the 72 demonic sigils on there. And each month I will prick my finger with a medical grade lancet. I will draw 1 drop of blood on the middle finger of my left hand, and I will place it on the sigil worksheet. Now, a lot of people look at that as dangerous, demonic, satanic, it's bad, you shouldn't be doing it. But there's a reason why. It's the same reason that I did this tattoo on my palm. If you look at what I did there, I did it old school, right? Stick and poke, okay? Now, folks, I didn't use a needle from the sewing kit and ink from an ink pen. Don't do that. I went to Amazon. I bought needles that were, already clean and everything. Actual tattooing needles. I bought actual tattooing ink. I cleaned my hands. I did all the same things you would do if you were getting a professional tattoo, but instead of using a gun, I just used a stick and poke tool, right? I watched every single time I stuck that needle into the palm of my hand, and I fucking tell you what, man, try sticking a needle in the palm of your hand. It is disturbing, to say the least. But why? Why did I do it? I had to take the power back. This tattoo on my left palm was a way for me to regain the power that I had given all of those tattoo artists over me. I allowed them to cause the pain. I used them as my drug dealer in a way. But I had to take the power back, and that's what I did here. In the same way that when I prick my finger every month and put it on the demon sigil, I'm taking my power back. That's for a different reason. We'll talk about that, I believe, in an episode coming up here very shortly. But this picture here, and why I did this tattoo so slowly, so deliberately, each pin, each needle prick, right? Each time I stabbed that needle into my palm, I was taking my power back. I was realizing and processing the pain and emotional pain that I was in back then. Forgiving myself for being in that pain and trying to move past it. It was a tough realization. It took multiple times, to get this. And it didn't turn out great, folks. That wasn't the purpose. The purpose wasn't to end up with a good tattoo. The purpose was, again, to take my power back. And that's one of the ways that I did it. And you're going to find these type of situations in your life. And you're going to come up with different methods to take your own power back. It's very important. Sometimes it can be tough. Sometimes it can be physically painful. But again, here I did it in a very controlled way. I think that helped a lot. Having complete control over it, that helps a lot. All of you out there who are suffering from your different issues, you know what it means to take control over your own self. Sometimes it can be difficult because so many forces are trying to control us externally. So let's move on to our next post, May 20th, 2023. We got to keep moving here, folks. We got a lot of posts to look at. This one is fun. I have an eyeball kind of. I use the projector once again. I have an eyeball projected over the sigil here.
Piece of shit. I hope you fucking like what you're seeing.
Okay.
If you're watching this, you spineless piece of shit.
If you're watching this, you spineless piece of shit. I hope you fucking like what you're seeing.
All right, folks. So
Like
again, kind of made this post out of anger. That was William Montgomery that you heard. Again, one of my favorite comedians. I'm sure he would hate that I am saying his name. He's a real Jesus freak, right? But he was basically saying, if you're out there watching this, I hope you like what you're seeing, right? And that was my message to so many people. Whether it was personally or just any of the haters that were coming and seeing my art, I really hope you fucking like what you're seeing here. I hope you like the man that I've become. You all led me to this. All of you in my past, good or bad, you led me to my current present, to the man I am today. And I hope you fucking like what you're seeing. I know it's difficult for a lot of you. Most of you are still stuck under the illusion. You see what I do as evil and scary. You think I am a bad person. You don't get it. You're not looking past the illusion, seeing the true good works that I'm doing here. And so this night, I pulled the card of Astaroth, I believe. No. Asmodee, the King of Swords. If you look on the fourth picture there, you see the Mind War Studios. It was pretty bare back then. Again, I do this to show you the progression of what it took to get to where we are today. Again, you see my little sigil worksheet there. Looks like I'd only been working on it for a short period of time. Not too many of those sigils are filled in. And then the final page, the final picture there is me kind of split in half. One side of my face is kind of an orange sepia type tone. And then the other side is blue, more of a digital, fuzz type. I thought that was a fun picture. I thought it was a great description of the duality that I was facing at the time and that we all face every day. Our whole lives are built on duality, right? It can be very confusing at times to have thoughts in our mind that lead us in two different directions. But ultimately, we have to follow them both, right? So in our next post on May 21st, 2023, this is a video. You see my face there. It's just kind of floating in the darkness. I really love what I did there with the lighting, right? So this was the beginning of a series that you can find on my YouTube. The playlist is called My Magical Year. And I go through and I do a very rudimentary, by the seat of my pants, description of what I was going through in that first year of practicing magic. And it included an issue that I ran into with some folks that are in my personal life, some Catholics in my personal life, who disparaged me to my mother prior to her death. That same Catholic then came and tried to proselytize my mother on her deathbed, and I threw him out of the house. It was very ridiculous. But if you want to hear that story, My Magical Year over on Instagram, that playlist, that's a fun listen. There's shorter videos. You can probably get through it in an hour and a half or so. But that final video, I believe it is called A Nightmare on Point Place. That's a great video. That's a very personal one, okay? The names were changed for anonymity, but those are very personal people in my life that did some strange stuff in the beginning of my demonic journey, right? All right, May 24th, 2023. Oh, boy. Okay, I love the picture from the beginning of this post. The red room, both the seats are empty. But once you click on it, man, you hear a very cringe-worthy poem / song that I wrote one night. And I can't believe I posted it. But it's still up there for a reason. Again, the reason is to show the progression. I'm showing you all of the most embarrassing and cringeworthy stuff that I put up in those early days because it's part of the process. And so when you do things that you may look back and say, oh, that was so cringy. Why did I do that? Don't destroy it. Hold on to it and just understand that's part of your process as well. This particular poem was kind of generated really quickly in my mind because I saw a post of this young lady who, and it was probably a troll. I probably fell for it, right? It was a young woman who said, I just got out of a 3-year relationship 2 days ago and I'm going on my first date. And I thought how disrespectful that was. That you just broke up with a man that you had been with for 3 years and 2 days later you're on to the next man. That was heartbreaking for me because, again, and this was almost 1.5 years, almost 2 years, man. It is, again, cringy and embarrassing to say, but I was still very heartbroken from the beautiful young woman who, in so many ways, taught me magic in the way that I'm practicing it today. That was my final gushing of emotions that I had for this young lady, right? This was my final, laying it all out there. And after this, really there was some realizations of, all right, bro, it's time to move on, right? Even as I posted that, I knew how fucking cringe it was. And I go, all right, Victor. It's time to move on, man. It's time to move forward. So, again, you can watch that on my Instagram. Have fun. Make fun of me. I love it. And the final post that we're going to look at today. This is from May 29th, 2023. I wish I could play the music for you. It is the Darth Vader theme song, right? Dun, 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 right? This is the first video that I made here at the podium. So I had been working on this podium. I built it from scratch. I had no idea why. I really didn't know why I was making this podium when I did. I knew I was going to do some type of videos. You saw my introduction video where I kind of introduced myself to the world, but I knew I needed some kind of platform, like a sturdy platform to work from. So I made this podium. Again, out of scratch. This used to be parts of another desk that I took from the library when they were throwing out these cubicles. I said, oh, I'll use that lumber to build my podium. And so this video here, all in red, this is Victor, again, coming to the podium for the first time, letting the world know, here I come. So, folks, thank you so much for being here today as we did really a great reading through the book Magic History Theory Practice. We covered quite a bit there. We continued on with my magical journey over on Instagram. And as always, I appreciate you being here, folks. And remember, harden your hearts and open your minds, because this is Mind War.